punctual, 1:30, and we don't have a clerk. And we don't have a clerk. It's trying to be punctual. Lose your stuff. What was it? Rich, you can use mine. Ready, Mr. Clerk? Are we ready? There you go. Okay, very good. Are we good to go, Mr. Clerk? Okay, very good. Thank you. We'll begin the Planning Committee meeting of Akron City Council at 1:31 or so. I'd like a motion that we approve the minutes of the previously held meeting. Motion to approve. Is there, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. The ayes do have it. We have a couple items that are up for a public hearing this afternoon and this evening. The procedures for that is that before we begin, we will be swearing people in that wish to testify before the committee. We'll get a report from the planning department in terms of the proposed conditional use. After that report, we'll then ask for people that may wish to speak in favor, and then we'll ask for people that may wish to speak against the conditional use. After that time, we'll close the public hearing, open it up to the committee, and then all of council for questions. We'll basically repeat that this evening at 7 o'clock. And then after that, the committee will then make a recommendation to all of council this evening, either in favor or against the proposal, the conditional use request, or to take time, table the item. So that's the procedure, and what we'll do is now ask a representative from our law department to swear in those that wish to testify before the committee. If you could please stand and be sworn in.
If you plan to give testimony today, please stand, raise your right hand, and answer in the affirmative. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give is the truth? Thank you.
Thank you. Very good. The first item that's up for a public hearing is ordinance authorizing conditional use to construct a mixed-use residential retail development at the northwest corner of the intersection of South Hawkins and Alden. Mr. Antonucci.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman, Planning Committee members. Todd Tober is seeking permission to establish a mixed-use building at this location to be called the 120. The proposed L-shaped building would contain 8 stories with a footprint of 30,265 square feet. The first 2 floors would contain a mix of retail and residential units, with the upper 6 floors devoted to residential use. Exterior construction materials would consist of wood look and brick veneer with a mix of earth tone prefabricated metal panels, a storefront glazing system along with a flat roof. The eastern portion, which is facing South Hawkins, of the lower level will be occupied by built-to-suit storefronts totaling to 10,700 square feet of retail space. The southern elevation facing Alden will feature 8 2-story, 2-bedroom residential units. The remaining 6 upper floors will contain 144 residential units, consisting of a mix of 7 studio, 95 1-bedroom, and 42 2-bedroom units. 132 space paved landscaped parking area will be located northwest of the building. West of the entrance drive on Alden Avenue would be an additional 4 parking spaces, and east of the entrance drive will be an access drive for a 58 space parking garage. An 18 space at-grade parking garage will also be sited at the northwest corner of the building. Additionally, there will be 25 angled parking spaces in front of the building along South Hawkins Avenue. The petitioner stated that the retailers will be low impact, low traffic generating tenants with restricted hours of business. The 8-story building will be a modern, attractive development with the majority of the parking behind the building. The proposed mixed-use development is in close proximity to the heavily retail-oriented intersections of South Hawkins Avenue, West Exchange, and West Market. Since the majority of the development is devoted to residential would be harmonious with the Village Point West condominiums and the Woods of Fairlawn apartments to the west, and the 8-story Charles Wesley apartment building to the northeast. There currently is no safe way for pedestrians to cross South Hawkins at this location. The Planning Department and the traffic engineer is investigating a design for a signalized crosswalk. The Wallhaven area has not witnessed any new mixed-use or residential or retail development in quite some time. The proposal would be harmonious with this neighborhood. Both Planning Commission and Planning staff recommend approval with conditions.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. Antonucci. At this time, we'll open up the public hearing, and if there's anyone here wishing to speak in favor of the proposal on South Hawkins, please feel free to step forward and provide.
Good afternoon. My name is Todd Tober, here to speak in favor of the 120. Address is 265 Waterside Drive in Medina. And I can answer questions if you like, or I'm here mainly to request that we rezone the property from residential to a mixed use, and we would begin construction probably late summer of next year and be done roughly in 1 year from start of construction. So we're hoping to occupy apartments in mid to late 2020.
Very good. Thank you, sir.
Sure.
Thank you. Is there anyone else here wishing to speak in favor of the proposal on South Hawkins? Anyone else wishing to speak in favor? Excuse me. Anyone else in favor? Anyone wishing to speak against the proposal on South Hawkins? Anyone against? Anyone? Very good. We'll close the public hearing portion, and again, invite you back this evening at 7 o'clock for that public hearing as well. Open it up to questions from the committee. Any committee members have questions? Mr. Neal?
Mr. Chairman, not a question, but just a comment. I want to thank Mr. Tober for taking an interest in the ward and for wanting to invest in the ward. I've heard a lot of positive things. There are a few questions that have been raised by the residents, which Mr. Tober has been engaged in those conversations. He's actually coming out with our planning department to meet with folks in the community this Thursday. So just out of respect for the way we try to do things in the ward, we'd just like to ask if we could take time until next Monday, but I'm in favor of this project.
Thank you, Mr. Neal, for your comments. What time and where? Well, I'll talk to you afterwards about the meeting.
6:30 Thursday.
If I can make it, I'll do my best. Any other comments or questions from any committee members? Ms. Movian?
I don't know if this is a question, it's more of a comment. This is that undeveloped block of land that's been there for a while, and it's not swampy, or is it? I thought it was wet.
Well, there had been some of those issues on the property, and Mr. Tober is well aware of that, and he's done some soil testing and the like. There will need to be engineering approval of this, so there's going to have to be some, strong review of the stormwater management plan there.
Okay. The question I have, or again, it could be a comment. I mean, that looks beautiful from a distance. Within this community, we've had 3 different developers, I think, building apartments at Crawford and Mall, and there was another one that came in not long ago. Do we have enough folks that are interested in all these apartments? Do we have any idea? Because they have a number of apartments in that radius from the expressway back of Mall. Do they have any kind of vacancy issues, or are they all occupied as whatever percentage you need to be? I think 80 to 90% is something occupancy people look for.
Yeah, you might recall about a year ago, we put together a report called Planning to Grow Akron, and it looked at demand for housing in the city. And one of the conclusions of that report is there's a real dearth of modern apartments in the city. So I think we're very confident that there's a market for these. And the other 2 projects to which you're referring, neither of those have gone forward at this point. So as Mr. Antonucci said, we actually haven't seen a lot of new apartment construction come to fruition in Wallhaven. So I think we're confident, as is Mr. Tober, with the investment here, that the apartments, there'll be demand for these.
Sure. I mean, that's a good use of that space because it's been vacant for a long time. We're still moving forward with the the housing where Perkins is? I know that's home ownership. I know that's different than,
Yes, that's, the former Perkins Middle School would be single-family detached homes, but that's still under development with Alpha Phi Alpha, that's correct.
okay. Thank you.
Okay. Further questions or comments? What's the makeup, and I may have missed it, you may have mentioned this, Mr. Antonucci, in terms of the amount of bedrooms? 95 one-bedroom, is that?
There's 152 total units.
Right.
Let's see here. 95 one-bedroom
Mm-hmm.
and 7 studio. The
Okay.
42 two-bedroom units.
42 two-bedroom?
Right.
Okay. Interesting. Very good. Further questions or comments? Yes, Sims?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So I was here at the Planning Commission meeting, so this is part of what we're answering tomorrow. I think there were some concerns about the sidewalk and the way we're proposing the sidewalks to go around the building, as well as flooding issues. So those are the issues that I was actually asking Mr.
On Thursday, the residents that live in that area that will be directly impacted will all have a chance to have their questions answered, and yes.
Okay, thank you.
Cool. Mr.
Just
Swirsky?
to make sure, Mr. Mobian pointed out that there was some land that is wet, but that doesn't mean these are wet lands.
Right,
they
that's
are.
correct. And there has been, as Mr. Antonucci said, engineering done, as Mr. Tober develops the project, the engineers would have to approve it, and plans to put, piles and firm footing to build the building on. But, right, they're not EPA designated wetlands on that site.
Check. Further questions or comments? Hearing none, we'll now move on to item number 2, which is authorizing conditional use to retain a solid fence within the setback at 983 Jean. Mr. Antonucci.
Mr. Chairman, committee members, Meredith Wade and Tammy Hoffman are requesting permission to retain fencing 3 feet and 1 inch from Alice Avenue right-of-way. Conditional use approval is needed for the 11-foot and 11-inch variance with a required 15 feet. Purpose of the solid fence restriction is to provide for safe movement of pedestrians and traffic. However, the planning staff also does recognize that corner lots are more restrictive due to 2 building setbacks. The traffic engineer's office conducted an inspection and noted that there were no site visibility issues due to the location of the fence. Because the solid fence is set back a few feet from the sidewalk, it does permit some visibility of the right-of-way. Both Planning Commission and Planning staff recommend approval, subject to the condition.
Thank you, sir. Very good. Is there anyone here wishing to speak in favor of the conditional use request of a solid fence within the setback at 983 Jean? Anyone here wishing to speak in favor? Anyone in favor? Okie dokie. Anyone wishing to speak against the setback fencing at 983 Jean? Anyone against? Anyone against? Very good. Hearing none. Questions or comments? Hearing none. One quick one. Did you mention that the traffic engineer had an opportunity to review?
Yeah, traffic engineer has looked at it, and this is an area where we had a complaint on one fence, and we went out and took a look at some others. And
Okay.
so we sent notices to several property owners there. In fact, there was a conditional use approved for the property just to the north of this one. Very similar fence.
Perfect. Thank you, sir. Further questions or comments? Hearing none, we'll move on to the balance of the agenda. I don't know if there's anything that needs to be filed or taken care of at this time. With that, we'll move on to the new list of legislation. I think our first item is... Say what? Yeah, there'll be a public hearing, I'm pretty sure. 14, it's a new,
Yes.
the first item on the new list of legislation for planning to consider authorizing conditional use to install a digital billboard along I-77 530 Nome.
Obviously refer and advertise this for a public hearing.
On the 15th,
Yes, sir.
all those in favor of referring signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it. 15 is authorizing conditional use to construct a storage building at 2822 Albrecht.
So recommend refer and advertise for public hearing.
All All those in favor
10:15.
of referring to advertising signify by saying aye. Aye. The ayes have it. 16, amending, supplementing Title 15 Land Usage, Chapter Zoning Code, Section blah, 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 sorry, definitions by defining supportive housing, and Section 153, private parking for residents, occupants, by revising the amount of required off-street residential parking requirements.
So refer and advertise for public hearing, 10:15.
All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. The ayes have it. 17, accepting a vacation plat for a portion of Wheeler north of East Market and authorizing the president of council and the clerk to endorse acceptance by council.
Yes, so this is accepting the vacation plat of this section of Wheeler Lane for United Way, who recently purchased the Sojourner Truth Building from the county, and also the parking to the east of that from APS. This would unify that property for United Way through the parking between the building and the parking lot. And also there would be a little section to the south. United Way is in agreement to vacate with the law offices there at 19 North High Street. So there's no public use for that right away, and we recommend vacating that for that development.
Okay. Did you mention that the area north of it has already been vacated? The area north of it?
Yeah, everything north is vacated.
Okay, already vacated, okay, and this is that section. So, and you also just mentioned that probably in the future, we may be seeing a vacation on that southern end of Wheeler as well?
Well, just for 19 North High Street for Blakemore, Meeker, and Bowler
Okay.
law offices, they asked to be included in that, and United Way is fine to allow that to happen. They need to unify their parking lot. It gives them
Okay.
a few more parking spaces.
But is there an appetite to possibly vacate that Wheeler Lane portion next to the law offices in the future?
Going all the way down to Market?
Yeah. Yes.
At this point, there would really be no need to do that.
okay.
Because they actually access that parking off of that section of Wheeler Lane for the
Kind of makes
for the
sense in a
law
way,
office.
though, to do that, but that's cool. Okay, very good. Questions or comments from anyone? Is consent okay?
Yes, consent would be fine.
Is there a recommendation for consent?
Recommendation for consent.
All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Ayes have it. Anything else to come before the committee? Hearing none, we're adjourned. Thanks.
Thank you.